Robin Phillip has been through 2 surgeries and months of radiation, all due to a tumor she now believes was caused by her birth control injections.
If I would have knew from the get-go, I would have never took that shot.
In 2018, doctors discovered a tumor called a meningioma pressing on Phillip's brain.
This right here.
Emergency surgery left her without vision in her left eye. She even had to relearn how to walk.
All right, so guys, the woman you just watched there is Robin Phillip, one of more than 1,000 women in the United States suing Pfizer, the company that makes Depo Provera, a popular birth control injection. Robin says she used the contraceptive for several years and later developed a brain tumor, which she believes was caused by the shot itself. She has undergone 2 major surgeries and months of radiation treatment. In her interview with NBC News, Robin said that if she had known about the possible risks, she would never have taken the injection. Her case is now part of a growing lawsuit accusing Pfizer of failing to warn women about a potential link between long-term use of Depo Provera and brain tumors. But Robin isn't the only woman taking on Pfizer. Her story is just one of many. Across the US, hundreds of women, now 1,300 women, have filed similar lawsuits, all claiming that the same contraceptive, Depo Provera, led to the growth of brain tumors and other complications. These women say they were never properly warned and that the drugs manufacturer, Pfizer, ignored years of research suggesting a possible link between long-term use of the injection and meningiomas, which is a type of tumor that forms in the lining of the brain. Together, their cases have been consolidated into a major federal lawsuit in Florida, making one of the biggest contraceptive-related legal battles in recent years. Now, let's come to Africa, especially South Africa, because this same contraceptive, Depo Provera, is also widely used there through public hospitals and family planning clinics. In January of 2025, the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, SAPRA, issued a public safety notice saying that Depo Provera, which contains medroxyprogesterone acetate, has been linked to a very rare case of meningioma, which we said is a type of brain tumor. SAPRA clarified that the overall risk is very low and that no local cases has been reported to the regulator at that time, but also advised doctors to be cautious with patients who have been on the injection for a long time or have a history of such tumors. And then in February, just a month later, the same SAPRA, together with Pfizer and Viatris, released an official letter to healthcare workers. It warned that prolonged use, 3 years or more, or high doses of Depo Provera could increase the risk of developing meningioma. The letter directed doctors to stop the injection immediately if a patient was diagnosed with a brain tumor and to avoid using it if anyone had a current or previous meningioma. Around the same time, South Africa's investigative program, Carte Blanche, aired a report featuring women who said they developed brain tumors after using Depo Provera. They raised concerns about how little information patients receive when the injection is given in public facilities. Now, let's take a moment to understand what Depo Provera really is and why it's at the center of all these conversations. Depo Provera is a high birth control injection made by the company Pfizer. It's given once every 3 months to prevent pregnancy. Millions of women around the world, including right here in Africa, have used it because, it's easy, reliable, and doesn't need to be taken every day like a pill. But for years, doctors and researchers have been debating whether this injection is completely safe, especially when used for a long time. Back in the early 2000s, the US Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, which is the main drug regulator in America, added a very strong warning on Depo Provera after studies showed that women who used it for too long could lose bone strength, increasing the risk of fractures and osteoporosis. So doctors were told to be careful with women who stayed on it for more than 2 years. This is actually what the warning says. Warning, Loss of bone mineral density. Women who use Depo Provera contraceptive injection may lose significant bone mineral density. Bone loss is greater with increasing duration of use and may not be completely reversible. Depo Provera contraceptive injection should not be used as a long-term birth control method unless the birth control methods are considered inadequate. Then came the newer studies, including one published in 2024 in the British Medical Journal, which found that using some hormone-based contraceptives, especially Depo Provera, for a long time could be linked to a higher chance of developing a meningioma or brain tumor, which we talked about. That is the research now being used by hundreds of women in the US who say Pfizer should have warned them earlier. Now, on the other side of this story is Pfizer, the company that makes Depo Provera. Pfizer has strongly defended the injection, saying it is safe when used as directed and that it has always followed the rules set by health regulators. In the US, the company says it could not simply add a new warning about brain tumors on its own. According to court filings and reports by Reuters, Pfizer has asked the US, or they say they had asked the US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, in late 2023 for permission to include new safety information about a possible link between Depo Provera and the brain tumors. But the FDA rejected the proposal, saying that the available data was not strong enough to justify such a warning at the time. Because of that, Pfizer now argues that it cannot be held responsible under state law for failing to warn women, since drug labels in the US can only be changed by who? Or with whose approval? FDA's approval. This has become a central part of Pfizer's legal defense, that the company's hands were tied by federal regulation and that it had acted within the law. Critics, however, point out that in other countries like France, Canada, and now South Africa, similar contraceptives already carry warnings about possible tumor risks. And at this point, if you are using Depo Provera, especially from a different African country, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, please check if there is that warning. See if there is a warning about possible tumor risks, because it is in South Africa, Canada, but it is not in all countries. That warning is not in all countries. So make sure that you are checking which the one that you are using to make sure there is a warning, right? And also, the fact that they are saying that they could not actually have it in America, but they have it in other different parts of the world, raises very uncomfortable questions. If other regulators felt there was enough evidence to alert women, why did the US system hold back? You know, that is what makes this case so complex. It's not only about science, it's also about how much control big pharma companies really have over what gets disclosed and how early those warnings reach the public. Because if you look at it, this is something that should have come with a warning from day one. Anyways, let's talk about how Depo Provera became so widespread in Africa, because that did not just happen by chance. For decades, Pfizer has supplied the injection to governments and global health programs through partnerships with organizations like USAID, UNFPA, PATH, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Together, they helped fund and distribute millions of doses under large-scale family planning and population programs, especially across Sub-Saharan Africa. In 2014, a version called Depo Provera Subcutaneous, DMPA-SC, often given in smaller doses and even designed for self-injection, was rolled out through these global initiatives. The idea was to make birth control easier to access for women in remote or rural areas. By 2025, the injectables like Depo Proveras made up nearly 40% of all modern contraceptives used in Sub-Saharan Africa. And my worry is, did people get this warning as well? Because if we are talking about 40% of women across Sub-Saharan Africa, then you can imagine what number that is. And you can imagine the risk if this did not come with that warning. Anyways, here's what is important. Even though this injection has been promoted as a safe and convenient option, very few African women were ever told about its possible long-term side effects, whether it was bone loss or now the brain tumor being investigated. In many public hospitals and rural clinics, there is no written consent, no detailed explanation of the drug's history, and often no follow-up to check how long a woman has been using it. Because remember, again, the warning comes with, please don't use this if you've used it for a couple of years. So you can imagine a place where there are no records on when you started using it. So I don't know. This, it will definitely be presented as, you know, the government family planning injection, but where are the warnings and where are the records, right? Pfizer, of course, says it only supplies the product and the governments and aid agencies handle local communication and training. But, you know, when a product becomes this widespread, used by millions of women, it's definitely going to raise a bigger question about accountability. If international donors, pharmaceutical companies, and local health ministries all play a part in distributing it, then who is responsible for making sure women truly understand what they are taking and what the long-term risks could be? Are you not supposed to be responsible? And that is the gap between access and awareness, you know. And this is where the story actually also hits home, because when you speak to women on the ground in Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, or even South Africa, most of them will tell you they were never warned about any serious side effects. Many don't even know that Depo Provera should be reviewed after a few years of use. To them, it's just an injection, something their nurse or community health worker recommends, you know, often right after giving birth. And there is rarely a conversation about how long it should be used or what to look out for if something feels wrong. In many clinics, record keeping is manual, especially in Africa. Follow-ups are rare, and side effects, you know, like mood changes, heavy bleeding, bone pain, or headaches are brushed off as normal. And yet, this same injection has carried strong safety warnings in the United States since 2004 for bone loss, and now in 2025, new cautionary labels here in South Africa are coming up talking about brain tumor risks. That means African women have been using this product for decades without being told the same things women in other parts of the world were told. Anyways, I'm not here to demonize the injection itself, because to many people, Depo Provera has been a reliable and effective form of birth control. But the real issue is information. Women deserve to know the full truth so they can make their own decisions, you know, and that is what is missing. Informed consent, not just being given the shot, but understanding what is this Depo Provera, what are the risks. Can I get a tumor? My bones, what is going to happen? You know, how long is it safe to use? And what to do if something changes in my body? I feel like these are the details people need. And until that becomes standard practice across African health system, this story will also remain unfinished, because access without awareness is definitely not empowerment. So where does this leave us, especially as Africa? You know, right now, the lawsuits in the US will continue, and the courts will decide whether Pfizer did enough to warn women there, or whether it hid behind legal loopholes. In South Africa, the regulators like SAPRA have already acted by updating warnings and advising doctors to be more cautious. But across the rest of Africa, millions of women are still using Depo Provera every day. Many of them unaware that this conversation is even happening. And I don't want to create panic, guys. You know, this is not about that. It's about demanding honesty and accountability. When a product is injected into millions of women's bodies, women deserve to know everything about it. Please do not give us half-truths and do not give us delayed updates. Pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer have made billions from contraceptives like Depo Provera, often distributed through what we said, global aid here in Africa. You know, the programs. These programs have played a huge role in family planning, but they've also exposed how easily African women's health can become a testing ground where decisions are made for us, but not with us in mind. Governments and health ministries must do better through clear communication, you know, independent studies, and real follow-up systems. Regulators must insist that any drug available to African women, whether it's been given for free or not, carries the same warnings, the same transparency, and the same respect for consent as in any other part of the world. Because true empowerment is not just access to birth control, it's having the right to choose, knowing the full truth, and being treated as equals in global healthcare. I really want to see how this progresses, but for me, I would urge anyone that is using Depo Provera right now, please take a look at those warnings and see if they are there. Follow this conversation and see where it leads. And I know definitely sometimes we might not even be able to afford these contraceptives. So when the government dishes them out, when global agencies or global aid agencies dishes them out, we want to take them. But I also encourage you, just try and ask questions and see how has this affected other people who have taken it before me, you know, because we do not want to have cases. Unfortunately, what Robin Phillip is going through is absolutely devastating. And you guys, you can go and catch that whole episode. I'm gonna put the link on the description box. Go and catch that whole conversation so that you can be able to see how this has affected her life, unfortunately, negatively. So follow these lawsuits. Share this with someone that you know is using Depo Provera or using that birth control contraceptive. Share this among yourselves, especially women, so that we can keep enlightening one another, right? So I'm gonna give you updates on where this ends, but I know right now the case is tight in the US, and you know, unfortunately, you get to ask yourself, if it is happening to women in the US where regulations are very tough, then what will happen here, where sometimes you have so many counterfeit products in our market that have definitely bypassed even the people who should be keeping us safe. So I want to know your thoughts on the comment section. But as I said, I urge anyone that is using this contraceptive, check if there is a warning right there, because sometimes people bank on you're not going to read all those details. You know, all you need is a pill, a shot. You just take it, but you are not definitely going to pay attention to what has been written. So make sure that you also read those things. They are very, very important. But I appreciate you for tuning in. Leave me your thoughts on the comment section, and hopefully I get to see you guys again tomorrow. And thank you to everyone that is contributing towards independent journalism. We really do appreciate you. We have our PayPal number is right there. We have our M-Pesa number. Our paybill account is also right there. Continue supporting independent journalism. And also, if you can't, make sure that if you've watched this until the end, please consider subscribing. That alone goes a long way to making sure that our work continues to reach a lot of people across the world. My name is Lynn Ngugi. If there's anything you can't leave on the comment section, please use info@lnn.digital. That is our email, and we'll definitely get back to you. So till next time, bye-bye.